All right, we're diving deep today.
Deep.
Into 2 Corinthians 7.116.
Okay.
You've given us the biblical text, some commentaries, study guides.
All right.
So
Yeah.
we're going to really get into it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how relevant this is,
It really is.
even though it was written thousands of years ago.
What I think is so fascinating about this chapter is that it really gives us a window into the raw emotions of the early church.
I like that.
You've got Paul, this passionate apostle, pouring his heart out to these Corinthians, who he loves, but have also caused him a lot of pain.
Yeah, it's like we're listening in on a private conversation.
It is.
A really intense one. And the sources mentioned that there was even a previous letter
Oh, right.
from Paul that we don't have.
Which we don't have.
So it's like we're missing a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Makes you wonder what was in that letter that caused this emotional response.
Right from the beginning, in verse 1. Paul urges the Corinthians to cleanse themselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God.
Okay.
That's pretty intense.
Yes.
What kind of impact do you think that would have had on them?
Well, we have to remember that Corinth was a wild place. It was known as a port city with a lot of temptations.
Right.
And the commentaries suggest that filthiness here could refer to sexual immorality, idolatry, dishonesty, even just fighting within the church itself.
Wow.
So it's not just about personal hygiene.
No.
It's about completely transforming your lifestyle.
Yeah, aligning yourself with God.
Exactly. Be set apart from the world around you.
And what's interesting is that he immediately follows that with a tender expression of love.
Yes.
In verse 2.
Okay.
Make room for us in your hearts. We have wronged no one. We have corrupted no one. We have defrauded no one.
So tender.
He's pleading with them, isn't he?
Yeah. There's a real vulnerability there. He's not speaking like he's above them.
Right.
He's speaking from a place of love and concern.
Yeah, wanting what's best for them.
Exactly.
And then he goes on to say, verse 3, I'm not speaking as to condemn you.
Okay.
For I have said before that you are in our hearts to die together and to live together.
Wow, that's powerful.
I mean, he's saying you're worth dying for.
He is. That really underscores the depth of his love for them.
Yeah, and then just a verse later, he says, I am filled with comfort. I am overflowing with joy in all our affliction.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He's facing all this turmoil and he's overflowing with joy.
Right. That really gets to the heart of what Christian joy is.
Yeah, how is that even possible?
Right. It's not about the absence of hardship.
Okay.
Paul is very clear that he's suffering.
The
word he uses, affliction, is very strong.
Oh, wow.
It implies real, intense physical and emotional suffering.
So it's not just pretending everything is fine.
No, it's much deeper. It's a joy that's rooted in something beyond your circumstances.
Okay.
It's a joy that comes from knowing God and trusting in his promises, even when life is hard.
So it's like his joy is anchored in something that can't be taken away.
Yes, exactly.
And that brings us to what I think is one of the most fascinating parts of this chapter.
Perfect.
This whole concept of godly sorrow versus worldly sorrow.
Right.
So starting in verse 5, we get a glimpse into Paul's emotional roller coaster.
Okay.
He's talking about his stressful journey through Macedonia, conflicts on the outside, fears within.
Oh, man.
He was on the verge of burnout.
Sounds like it.
And suddenly, everything changes.
Okay.
Titus arrives, brings news from Corinth.
Oh, wow.
Paul's whole mood shifts.
Interesting.
It's like getting a letter from a loved one
Yeah.
after a long silence.
Yeah, you can feel the tension just breaking.
And the way he describes Titus's arrival really emphasizes how much he needed this. He says that Titus's coming gave us relief and brought us great joy.
Okay.
You can tell he was carrying a heavy burden of worry and anxiety.
Yeah.
And this is where we get to the heart of the matter.
Right.
The Corinthians' response to his previous letter.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of godly sorrow.
Okay.
In verses 9 and 10, he distinguishes between two types of sorrow.
All right.
Now I rejoice, not that you were made sorry, but that you sorrowed to repentance.
Okay.
For you were made sorry in a godly manner, that you might suffer loss from us in nothing. For godly sorrow produces repentance leading to salvation, not to be regretted.
Okay.
But the sorrow of the world produces death.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what exactly is the difference
That's a great question.
between godly sorrow and worldly sorrow?
One of the study guides puts it really well.
Okay.
Worldly sorrow focuses on the consequences of sin, while godly sorrow focuses on the sin itself.
Okay, so if you get caught doing something wrong and you feel bad
Yeah.
because you're facing punishment,
Right. You got caught.
that's worldly sorrow.
Exactly. But godly sorrow,
Mm-hmm.
it's different. It's a deeper sadness. It's about recognizing that your actions have offended God.
Okay.
Damaged your relationship with him?
So it's more about, I hurt someone I love.
Yes. It's about a change of heart, a desire to turn away from sin and make things right.
And he makes it clear that these two types of sorrow lead to very different outcomes.
Yes.
Worldly sorrow produces death,
Right.
despair, hopelessness.
Yeah.
But godly sorrow produces repentance, leading to salvation, not to be regretted.
That's right.
So it's about taking action, making amends,
It is.
and ultimately drawing closer to God.
Exactly. And that's what we see with the Corinthians. Their sorrow was godly sorrow.
Okay.
And it led them to repentance,
Yeah.
which led to reconciliation.
It's amazing how this one concept can have such a profound impact.
It is powerful.
It's a reminder that even our painful emotions can be used by God.
They can.
To bring about positive change.
Yes. It's about allowing those emotions to lead you towards him, not away.
I'm curious, how did the Corinthians actually demonstrate this godly sorrow?
Well, verse 11 gives us a list.
Okay.
It says they showed earnestness, eagerness to clear themselves, indignation, fear, longing, zeal, and punishment.
Okay, so their sorrow wasn't just words.
It wasn't. It was manifested in their actions, their desire to make things right.
Some of those words, though,
Yeah.
like indignation and punishment, sound a bit harsh.
They do. But remember, these words might have different meanings.
Okay.
In the original Greek, punishment here could refer to their willingness to accept consequences, to make amends for the wrong.
So it's not about revenge.
No.
It's about taking responsibility, restoring justice.
Exactly.
And indignation could be righteous anger.
It could, yes.
Directed at the sin itself.
At the sin, yeah.
So even these negative emotions, when channeled properly, can be part of repentance and reconciliation.
Exactly. I think that's a key takeaway.
Yeah.
Repentance isn't just about feeling bad. It's about turning away from sin towards God, letting him transform you.
I'm starting to see this in a whole new light.
Good.
It's a roadmap.
It is.
For navigating our own experiences with sorrow, repentance, and reconciliation.
That's right.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
We left off talking about the Corinthians' repentance and how that paved the way for reconciliation with Paul.
Right.
So now dive into verses 12 through 16 and see how this unfolds.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how Paul is so eager to rebuild this relationship.
He is, I mean, after all that, frustration and hurt.
Yeah, you can really sense his pastoral heart. It's not about winning an argument.
No.
It's about restoring unity.
It is.
And encouraging spiritual growth.
It is, absolutely.
And in verse 12, he addresses some potential misunderstandings about his previous letter.
Okay.
So when I wrote to you, it was not on account of the one who did the wrong or on account of the one who suffered the wrong, but for this purpose, that your earnestness for us might be revealed to you in the sight of God.
Okay.
It sounds like some people might have interpreted his letter as taking sides in a dispute.
Or being too critical.
Yeah, but he's making it clear that his main concern was their spiritual well-being.
Right. Their relationship with God.
Yeah, it wasn't about punishment. It was about love.
It was.
He wanted them to see how much he cared. How much God cared.
Absolutely.
That's such a good reminder.
It is.
That sometimes, even when we're trying to correct someone, our motives can be misunderstood.
Yeah, misconstrued.
It really highlights the importance of clear communication.
It does.
Especially in these situations.
Sensitive situations.
Yeah, and this communication piece is really key throughout this whole chapter.
Yeah, isn't it? We've got this missing letter. Paul's emotional response.
Yeah.
Titus acting as this go-between.
Yeah.
So we really have to be intentional about our communication, make sure our words convey what we intend.
Absolutely.
And speaking of communication, verse 13 highlights how the Corinthians' positive response didn't just impact Paul, it impacted Titus as well.
Okay.
Therefore, we have been comforted, and in our comfort we rejoice the more exceedingly for the joy of Titus, because his spirit has been refreshed by you all.
Okay.
So their repentance had this ripple effect. It spread joy and encouragement. It really emphasizes the interconnectedness of community.
Yeah.
The Corinthians' actions comforted Paul, which then brought joy to Titus.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction.
It is.
Of love and grace.
Yeah.
And what strikes me here is this power of shared joy. It's not just that Paul and Titus were happy, but they were happy together, sharing in each other's joy. What are your thoughts on how shared joy strengthens relationships?
I think one thing that the commentaries point out is that shared joy creates unity and belonging. When we experience joy together, it strengthens our bonds. It reminds us that we're not alone in our joys and our sorrows. It's like weaving this tapestry
I like that.
of shared experiences, which creates a richer, more vibrant connection.
It's like that feeling of celebrating a victory with your team.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sharing good news with your family.
Yeah, the joy is magnified because you experience it together.
And that's what we're seeing with Paul, Titus, and the Corinthians.
Exactly. They've been through this difficult process of confronting sin and repenting, and now they're reaping the benefits, restored relationships, and a deep sense of shared joy. So
it's a powerful reminder that even after conflict and hurt, reconciliation is possible.
It is.
And joy can be restored.
It can.
And this sense of restoration is reinforced in verse 14. Where Paul says, "For if in anything I have boasted to him about you, I was not put to shame. But as we spoke all things to you in truth, so also our boasting before Titus has proven to be the truth." It's like he's saying, see, I told you they were good people.
Yeah, he's affirming their transformation. He's acknowledging they've changed, that they've become the people he knew they could be.
And this restored trust is tied to their obedience and humility. In verse 15, we see how Titus's affection for the Corinthians grew because he remembered the obedience of you all, how with fear and trembling you received him. The repentance wasn't just words.
It wasn't. It was demonstrated through their actions.
Their humble reception of Titus.
True repentance isn't passive.
It's active.
It's active.
It involves changing your behavior, making amends,
absolutely,
turning toward God. And this whole chapter culminates in this powerful declaration of reconciliation in verse 16. I rejoice, therefore, that in everything I have confidence in you.
Wow, what a statement.
You can just hear the relief in his voice.
You can.
He's genuinely happy, relieved, and confident.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful ending.
It is.
To what started as a very intense letter.
It was a very intense letter.
It highlights the power.
It does.
Of forgiveness and reconciliation.
It does.
Despite all the challenges and hurt feelings. They were able to move forward, rebuild trust, and experience that joy of restored unity.
It's encouraging.
It's encouraging. This whole passage is a powerful reminder.
It is.
That relationships, even those that have been deeply wounded, can be healed.
They can be.
There's always hope for reconciliation and restoration.
Absolutely. It's an inspiring message.
It is.
And it's relevant.
It is.
For all of us.
We all experience conflict and hurt.
They do.
And this passage reminds us that even in those difficult moments, God is working.
He is.
To bring about healing and restoration. Welcome back to our deep dive into 2 Corinthians 7.116.
It's been quite a journey.
We've really journeyed through this whole emotional landscape. From that initial call to purity to the Corinthians' repentance. And then finally that reconciliation.
That beautiful moment of reconciliation.
Restored trust.
Really is.
So as we wrap up, what are your big takeaways?
Oh, there's so many. But I think one that really sticks out to me is that transformative power of godly sorrow. We see how that kind of sorrow, rooted in recognizing how we offend God, leads to real repentance and a change of heart.
So it's not about just...
It's not just about feeling bad,
right,
wallowing in guilt and shame.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging your mistakes.
Yeah.
Seeking forgiveness and making amends.
And that applies to all our relationships, right?
It does, not just with God, but with each other.
When we hurt someone,
exactly,
godly sorrow makes us want to repair that.
Yes, to seek that reconciliation.
Like when you realize you've hurt someone.
Oh, yeah.
Your heart breaks.
It does.
You don't want to make excuses.
Yeah.
You just want to...
make it right.
Make it right.
That's the beauty of reconciliation.
Yeah.
It's messy.
It can be.
It's painful.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately healing.
Yeah.
It allows us to move forward, rebuild that trust, and experience the joy of restored relationships.
What else stands out to you?
Oh, I think shared joy is so important.
Okay.
We see how Paul and Titus rejoiced together over the Corinthians' repentance, and it strengthened their bond.
Yeah. It really did.
It reminds us that joy is multiplied when we experience it together.
One of the commentaries mentioned, shared joy creates a sense of belonging.
It does. It reminds us we're not alone in our joys and sorrows.
It's like achieving a goal as a team.
Exactly.
That feeling.
Yes.
Or sharing good news.
Or sharing good news. The joy is amplified.
Yeah.
Because you experience it together.
I also thought it was interesting how this whole passage highlights communication.
It does.
And vulnerability.
Yeah.
In these relationships.
Absolutely.
Paul poured his heart out.
He did.
Expressed his frustration. But also his love for them.
Yes. He didn't shy away.
No, he didn't.
From those tough conversations.
But always with love.
Yes.
And a desire for reconciliation.
That's right.
And the Corinthians responded.
They did.
With humility.
Yes.
A willingness to make things right.
They didn't make excuses.
No, they owned up.
They owned up to it.
To their mistakes.
They did. They acknowledged their need for forgiveness.
It's a beautiful example.
It is.
Of how open and honest communication, coupled with a genuine desire for reconciliation, can lead to healing.
It can.
And growth in relationship.
Absolutely. Even when things are strained, there's always that hope for restoration. If we're willing to humble ourselves, communicate openly, and seek forgiveness.
This has been... It has.
Such an insightful deep dive.
It has been. It's given me a lot to think about.
Yeah, me too.
How I approach conflict.
Yeah, in my own relationship.
In my own relationships,
It's a reminder that even in the midst of disagreements, there's room for...
grace, forgiveness.
Grace, forgiveness.
That joy of restored relationships.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay.
As you go about your day,
think
about your relationships. Are there any that need a little extra care?
Yeah, a little extra attention.
A little extra attention.
Maybe a little dose of godly sorrow. Reconciliation. Shared joy.
Let this passage encourage you.
It is encouraging.
That even in the midst of brokenness, there's hope. For healing and restoration.
Absolutely.
Through God's grace and our willingness to humble ourselves and seek forgiveness.
Seek forgiveness. Beautifully said.
This concludes our deep dive
into 2 Corinthians 7:116.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for being here.
May you experience that transformative power of God's grace
Absolutely.
in your own lives
and
relationships.
It's a beautiful thing.